Welcome to the McGolf fitting room. Let's take a tour. It's what's in my shop. We did a what's in my bag, so why not what's in my shop? Hello golfers, Jim McCleary in the McFitting room. And we wanted to do what's in my room, right? And this spurs itself off of a couple of things. Number one, we won the Golf Digest Top 100 Best Club Fitters in the USA. Now, we have been fortunate enough to win this thing every time it's been put out. And we're in a very rural area, a small part of southern Ohio, in an area that, borders on West Virginia, Virginia, Kentucky, all those other little, very rural areas. So I consider ourselves very, very lucky. Very, very proud of the fact that Mrs. McGolf and I have been able to accumulate these awards. And so, we did the what's in my bag. And it was actually kind of popular. I didn't think it would go like that. So I figured, let's do what's in my room. And this is to kind of give you an idea of what, if you're going for a fitting, something that you might expect. Now, I will say this in a couple of things. Number one, every fitter has their own personality. Every business does it a different way in most cases. Everybody has a process of which they believe gets you to your spot. And that's okay, right? Variety is the spice of life. The real issue is if you are comfortable going through that process, if you're comfortable going into that room, if you're comfortable with that fitter, right? And so I want to show you what we have now upgraded. I think we've pretty much hit a pinnacle of all the things that we can do. And what we've done lately is, and you guys have seen it, and I'll link it up in another video over here. What we did is we switched shaft connectors. So now we are to this from that, all right? This was a Club Connect. And the Club Connect was a really nice connector. It was like the only connector. And Eric did a fine job. Well, the company's been bought and sold a couple of times, and the last business practice was, we'll say, unsavory at the least. And it opened the door for some more competition. Hence, here comes All Fit Golf. All Fit Golf contacted me and asked me if I would do some testing on it, and I said for certain. Now, the funny part was it wasn't for that. It was for this. You probably won't be able to see very well, but it was for that. It was for this connector, and this connector allows me to connect to a lot of different heads. Okay, it has a spacer that will go on the end of this, and then it goes through the screw just like any other adaptable club. Now, is that the cure-all end-all? No. Why is that? Because there are still adjustable clubs there are still non-adjustable clubs out there. And when you have a non-adjustable club, you need a different connector, and it's not one that adapts. So we either have to put one of those connectors in one of the adapters, or we just don't use it. And I'd prefer to be able to use it because I like a couple of the offerings, this being one of them. All right, the driver works. I just wish it had just a small adapter. So Wilson, if you're listening, please, next one, just make an adapter. Since we've converted that, I've also added on Nippon. Right, we've been using Nippon for a bit, but now we've got basically their entire line. Well, that's been pretty good. And Acra, these guys back here, they updated their I-Series iron shafts, and I thought it'd be a good time so everything kind of fell together at once. And what I was really waiting on to do this was Mizuno. Mizuno's been behind the curve in manufacturing, or getting the supplies to the people so they can put them together. And I just finally got my stuff, as you saw. And with the new stuff coming out, we've kind of limited the MP line. We're not doing anything until the new stuff comes out. And same thing with a couple of the other companies. We have basically what's new, what's offered right now. And in this company right up here, KBS has come out with another series of graphite, which I think is phenomenal. Anything we can do to make it that way, right? Now, I've looked up in here, and just the irons alone, depending on whether or not, if I don't include my Callaway lineup, we're somewhere around just shy of 3,000 options, 3,000 combinations, and when we put them in there, it almost doubles, all right, because there's a lot of heads and a lot of shafts. If we can't find what fits you in about 3,000, or even for that matter 6,000, chances are something's not right. So anyway, all that being said, we also have our driver offerings here, and my driver offerings actually have gotten bigger, so that's a good thing. So what I really want to do is I want to go around the room, just give you a real quick of what's going on, and then you can you are more, well, informed of what's going on. So let's take a tour. So what do we talk about when we're talking about fittings? Well, number one, you got to have a place to hit it. Number two, you got to have something that's going to collect data. Number three, you got to have a person that's going to be able to help you out. And number four, you have to have the ability to have a product that's going to work, right? And having every one of them isn't the answer, right? Every one of them is not the answer. So let's start at the beginning. Where do we hit? We hit here, right? We hit here. And this is a new area that we made as of October of last year. And it is our new hitting. It's a one-on-one, or if you like bringing some folks so they can be a peanut gallery, but one-on-one experience. That's the whole idea. You see behind me now that I have a new net. The net will take a projection, and it's the projection of my flight scope, which we'll see here in a little bit. Plenty of room side to side. You know, there's gobs and gobs of room. I'm standing in the middle, okay? Which brings me to what I'm standing on. This is a fiber-built mat system. And I'd like to think I had something to do with this design, although I can't claim it officially, but I'd like to think I did. So what this is a hitting area in between two stance areas. Now what you always get is I can't hit off of a mat, and that's typically true when the mat is only about, a 1/4 inch deep and it really hurts when you hit. That is not the case with these, all right? These are stance mats that give you an idea of what it feels like to actually be on the dirt, all right? The hitting area is at least 1 inch to 1.5 inches thick, and it's very dense. Yes, you can hit fat. Yes, you can hit thin. And it also has, and I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but it has a tee that goes, I got 4 holes for tees, and I have an adjustable tee to adapt to the preference of the hitter and quite possibly show them the differences of what tee height can do. And it sits on a rubber base, it doesn't move, it's very substantial, and it's very nice, and that's the reason why I like it. The area that you can hit on takes a lot of swings before it starts to show wear. You're seeing a little bit here, and that's basically since October, right? So we're almost into a year, and this is all we've got basically, and that's doing, hundreds upon hundreds of fittings. And then you multiply that times hundreds upon hundreds of golf balls hit, you get the idea. But this is the place where you stand and you hit into there. Okay, so all the stuff that I'm telling you about when I say the net came from West Coast Netting, this came from Fiberbelt, Flight Scope, all these things. I have, other than the fact that I've done my research and these are the people I like dealing with, they're not sponsoring, they're not doing any of this stuff. So, take it however you want to take it, but that's how that's going to work. Now, some of their stuff you might see in here, little extras, is my heat, my heat locker. When I was using 24-hour glue, that became very, very important. And what that does is it gets up to about 110, 120 degrees, and I could put my clubs in there, and I called it my Easy Bake Oven. So that was where that was going. So now, what do we use to catch it with? All right, what you see there is the Flight Scope, the Flight Scope X3. And the Flight Scope X3 is a radar unit. The radar unit is self-leveling, and it needs a certain amount of flight space. So if you go from there and you turn around and you see where I was hitting, and then you see up into there, that's about the space that it needed. All right, it needs about 12 foot of flight time, and about 8 foot behind it, and then that way you're ready to rock and roll. So it is a very, very precise unit. It doesn't get the love that like a TrackMan does, and that's only because it's not as expensive, because we think more expensive means better. That's not necessarily the case in this particular point. However, it travels well. It goes inside and outside. It tracks it down to the ground if you happen to go outside. If you use the little metal discs, it's actually a little bit more precise indoors than it is out, according to my technical people. It never moves from there. I turn it off when I'm done. And a radar-based unit. It's something that I prefer. All right, so the other reason why I like the flight scope is the information that it gives. More from a technical type person as far as acceleration profiles, speeds, tempos, angles of attack, all those different things that most people can relate to, it gives in spades. It does a very, very good job. And you get to see the output here. Now, while if you're not looking at my projector, I have a side screen. And this is how it all started right here, is with a side screen. I get to use it, the other golfers get to use it, just whatever. And it gives just another, another way of input, and that's really what we like. And that's and so more input causes more questions. And when you have more questions, then you turn around and you have a better experience. And you have a better fitting, and you get better clubs, and that's what we're talking about here. What we have here is the command center, and what it is, it holds all the electronics, all the other gizmos and gadgets that I need in order to perform my best fittings for you guys, and that's what I'm looking for. In order to, you got the computer, the all fit, all the things in order to do video, and that's in order to provide the best fitting that we can for you, and that's what we're looking for here. So we get to see a full view of the net and everything else. Guys, if you have any questions, put them down in the show notes. And always, let's see your scores. Go low.